Oh yes. Can you feel that? No, neither can I. Huh. Oh, you didn't expect this, did ya? I ain't no superhero, my name's Brother Neuro. I ain't no SJW that you know. I got a disease, I ain't got a cure, yo. I could touch you, but I wouldn't be sure, though. Have to look down and check, ain't got a clue, though. Oh, bro knows nerves going down to zero, like the pound going up and down to the euro. I got an acid tongue, a jalapeno, sting ya, but it's sweet to me like a churro. Your intellectualism is pseudo. I can hit you with my abusive judo. Oh, I'm incredulous and I'm credible and incredible, well-fed, well-federal, like a bureau. But your subscribers don't count, it's just me and you, though. Oh, no sense, no feeling, no cure, no healing. I punch Nazis all day, night and evening, till my fingers are broken and bleeding. I'm not the hero you're wanting or needing, but I'm not giving up and leaving until I get your numbers down to zero. Feel all the pain I can, cause I'm Brother Neuro, Neuro. Woo!
Brother Nero, I knew you'd come.
Hello folks, this is Brother Neuro here, and today I'm going to go back and revisit the person who really kicked off these Brother Neuro videos. You may remember that the first ever person I ever made a video to as Brother Neuro was a young man by the name of Peter Sweden. This boring, miserable, beige, fucking just boiled celery of a human being. This fucking pencil rubber headed fuck with a fucking just a pile of human shit. And he goes by the name of Peter Sweden 7, that's how he's known. And I made a video to him that was really just responding to one or two tweets that he'd sent out. But today I thought I'd go into a little bit more detail about who Peter Sweden 7 really is, and I'm gonna expose some things about him that he likes to keep buried. These are things that are not. This is not the first time a lot of people have heard of him. In fact, there are other articles that have dealt with this online, but this is probably the first. This is probably the most detailed one on YouTube that's going to go into detail as to who Peter Sweden 7 really fucking is. Now, if you watch a lot of Peter Sweden tweets today, you'll notice he makes a big point of going on about how much he hates Nazis and how much, and he always posts things like, "Oh, I hate Nazis and I hate communists," and he always goes on and equates both of them just the same. And and it's quite interesting. But that's the thing, that's only a recent development in Peter Sweden's history. You see, there's this myth that's perpetuated by a lot of people who don't really understand or necessarily make videos, but they always go on they'll always respond to videos that I make saying, "Why are you giving people like this attention? Aren't you just helping them by giving them more attention?" And in a way, sometimes that's true, but with people like Peter Sweden, that's not always the case. You see, there's a limit to how much attention they really want, depending on how extreme they are. The more extreme they are means that there's a limit to how much attention they really want. And if they get too much attention, then that can be a bit of a bad thing. So consider this me trying to give Peter that little bit too much attention. Now, this is probably the first and only example of this ever happening, but it has to be. I have to call it out and say it for what it is. This is the first example I can think of where Katie Hopkins has actually done some good. You see, back in I think it was around about July of last year, Peter Sweden got a selfie with himself and Katie Hopkins, and he tweeted out this image that I'll put up on the screen. "Lovely at Katie Hopkins in Sicily too." This then suddenly got the eye of the mainstream press, and several mainstream press outlets looked at Peter Sweden's account and then wrote articles pointing out the fact that Katie Hopkins was here posing with a Holocaust denier. Katie Hopkins, who had retweeted Peter Sweden's initial photo, immediately took the retweet away and then, as far as I'm aware, blocked him and never ever mentioned him ever again. And there's a very good reason for that, and I'm going to go into that now as we look at some of Peter Sweden's old tweets prior to this event. Now, this was the event, this was the tipping point for Peter Sweden. This was the point where he had to make a decision as to whether he was going to stand by things he had said in the past, or he was now going to go and he's going to take it all back. And he chose the latter. Now, the following are a selection of tweets that I'm going to read to you. These were all posted in the year 2016 by Peter Sweden, sometime between May and August of 2016, when Peter would have been around about 21 years old. These are the tweets. I'm going to read them to you now. Number one: Hitler helped 60,000 Jews migrate to Palestine and settle there. I love the way he puts the word help, as if Hitler knocked on the fucking door and was like, oh, good evening, I hear you're moving, would you like me to help you with some stuff there? Right. Peter Sweden, in August of that year: I don't like fascism, but I think Hitler had some good points. What points would they be, Peter? I'm pretty certain that the Holocaust never actually happened. Now, that is an unambiguous statement there, folks. I'm pretty certain that the Holocaust never actually happened. That in and of itself is pretty damn crazy, but Holocaust denial is a pretty common trait, amongst a lot of conspiracy theorists. It's not unusual. However, Peter Sweden ups the ante greatly here. He takes it to a next level, and he expresses an opinion that even hardened anti-Semitic, Jew-hating neo-Nazis these days will not fucking bother defending. This was the tweet here. He sent it in September of 2016. How is the Protocols of the Elders of Zion anti-Semitic? Is the Jews' own text on Jewish supremacism anti-Semitic? Peter Sweden thinks that the Protocols of Zion is still a legitimate historical document. Now, I have been on a lot of forums and been on a lot of websites run by anti-Semitic neo-Nazis who deny the Holocaust and all that good stuff. And you will struggle, rarely, to come across any of them who will defend this. That's how blatantly fucking fraudulent the Protocols of Zion is. In fact, there are only two places you'll really find, in modern context, you'll only find places where people defend it as a real document, and that are various countries in the Middle East for obvious reasons. And the other place in the West, there's only one man who I've been able to find who will openly, one prominent public figure, who will openly defend the Protocols of Zion as an historical document. And that is David Icke. You may remember David Icke from a recent video I did about a month ago called 6 Unintentionally Hilarious Conspiracy Theories. He was, of course, number one with his theory that shape-shifting reptilians from outer space control the planet Earth. Yes, that guy actually believes the Protocols of Zion. He's the only person I can find in the Western world who is the most prominent figure. So that's the company you've got there. You're keeping at the moment, Peter. David fucking Icke, the guy who believes the Matrix is real, the moon is fake, and that the Protocols of Zion is real, and that the fucking shape-shifting lizards from outer space control the planet Earth. In David Icke's defense, when you consider some of those things that he does believing the Protocols of Zion is real isn't really much of a big fucking deal. It's kind of like, well, that's not really too shocking, is it? But for Peter Sweden, that's a bit of a different case here, because he's trying to present himself as a legitimate sort of alternative news source, not a guy who believes things like we live in the Matrix and that the moon isn't real. He goes on. This is from August of 2016. I believe the Holocaust is a lie to further the agenda of the NWO. The globalists, mainly Jews, are the ones bringing the Muslims to Europe. They seem to work together. Oh, yes, Peter, as we know, Jews and Muslims they're like fucking Simon and Garfunkel of the religious world. You cannot, these guys, they just get on so fucking well. They just work together so beautifully, don't they? Muslims and Jews, it is a well-known, it's almost a cliche at this point to someone to point out, well, that Muslims and Jews, they really are good, and they really do work together very well. They really do get on perfectly well with each other. But then he goes to a fucking new level, and this is how bad, this last tweet, this is how amazingly bad this one is, because this is actually almost, it's almost, I don't say word for word, but paraphrases a fucking joke I once put in a previous video, right? This is a joke, I think, from one of my racist safari hunt videos that I actually put in. I also heard, right? Now, when someone starts a sentence like that, I have also heard. Who have you heard from, Pete? Your guy on the inside of the concentration camps, right? But I have also heard that concentration camps actually had swimming pools, cinemas, theatres, and football fields. Opinion? Yes, Peter, I think that is an opinion. Not only is it an opinion, it's bonkers fucking men. The cinema. Why would they do that? It's a concentration camp, you fucking moron. Why would you? It's not. The whole point of a concentration camp is not to make life easier for everyone on the inside. It's not to make their lives more comfortable. Oh, they also gave them fucking fiber optic internet, and each one of them got a fucking 3-month subscription to Pornhub Premium, didn't they? Yeah, they got a hoverboard, fucking everything, full healthcare coverage, insurance, everything. That's what they got. That was the fucking. What if you're gonna make life? If you're gonna put things in the concentration camp that are, things that you would, luxuries like theatres and cinemas, and football fields, then here's a fucking clue. Just don't put them in the camps in the first place. Let them fucking wander around the north. You don't need to know where they fucking are. They're not sat. Hitler wasn't sat around fucking. Oh God, what else do we got? Can we have a games night for them? You fucking prat. So, Peter Sweden's found himself in a difficult position because he's a young man. His face is out there. His name is out there. And now he's being plastered all over the mainstream press and all over the papers as being this guy who thinks that the Holocaust didn't happen, who thinks that the Protocols of Zion is an actual historical document, and that in the concentration camps, which I wonder why they're in concentration camps when apparently the Holocaust didn't happen, but nevertheless, so he's the Jews in the concentration camps had a full Olympic-sized swimming pool, and and access to a full track and field, Olympic stadium, football teams, everything, a fucking league. They were sponsored by Pfizer, everything, Everything was all there. So he's got to make a decision because he's a young man and he's got to ask himself, does he want to live? And now he's faced with, he's not just some guy on the internet who's like, who barely anyone's heard of, who you wouldn't recognise down the street. Now there's a chance. Now he's in the public eye. Now he's got a lot more attention. He's got that uncomfortable level of attention and he has to make a decision. Does he stick with it? Does he double down and say, fuck yes, I've said all that stuff and I stand by it? Or does he bottle it? And Peter Sweden decided to bottle it because after all of this stuff became public knowledge, Peter Sweden released the following statement. And this was in July of 2000. Now, bearing in mind, most of the tweets I read you there, when he was 22 years old, when he was 21 years old, he made all those tweets. And that was in September, and this was made in July of the following year. He is still the same age as when he sent those tweets. Now, recently, some old tweets of mine have resurfaced, which contain views that I in no way agree with today, with opinions that I have long left behind me within the last 10 months of your life. Just long left behind. Oh, I left behind them. Oh, fucking hell. That was when that stuff. That was fucking 10 months ago, my friend. Lot has changed since then. I have grown older and learnt more about my life. My views now are very different, and I strongly regret these things I said when I was young. Yes, way back when I was a 21-year-old, when I was a stupid, naive 21-year-old. Not now. Now I'm a much wiser, more developed, emotionally stable and educated 21-year-old. So for the record, let me set a few things straight. Of course I believe that the Holocaust happened and that it was an horrific crime. Well, well done, Peter. Good for you. I do not agree with Hitler in any way whatsoever. He was a despot like Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao and other dictators, all of whom are communist, because I can't think of another fascist one at the moment. And many other dictators of the world, unfortunately, have seen. And I do not agree with National Socialism, even though you're a nationalist. You're a Swedish nationalist. Forget it. God created all people equal, people who have their own unique heritage and culture. Yes, whether you're Sikh, Hindu, Muslim, there's many paths to Jesus Christ. There are many things I have said that I regret today. Opinions that I no longer hold on various different subjects. My views today are my views today, not my views in the past. Okay, you can't say the past, Peter. It was just down. It was like, that's like me saying last week, that by the way, fucking jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, and then me saying, oh no, fucking, I agree with the official story, and then saying that was in the past. I said all that other stuff. It's not in the past. Yeah, it's in the past technically, but it's not the past, is it? As Jesus said, let the person without sin cast the first stone. You cast stones like a motherfucker on this Twitter account, my friend. You are one stone-casting bitch, right? And that the past should be the past. I don't think he said that. Right? Stupid mistakes done in one's youth. One's youth! Again, you're the same age! Shouldn't be used to try and character assassinate me. Yes, how dare you quote me verbatim. Listen, Peter, the problem people have here in believing you is the fact that these things that you say that you no longer hold are opinions that if you were expressing the opinion and you weren't mucking around, you said you believe the Holocaust didn't happen, it's part of the NWO agenda. You think that they had swimming pools and a fucking IMAX, cinema at the bloody in the concentration camps. You think that the Protocols of Zion is a real document. Those are things that if I changed my opinion on them, I would have mentioned it before. I wouldn't wait till it was suddenly in the newspapers, and I wait to the point where when Katie Hopkins doesn't want anything to do with you because you're that toxic, you've gone past the Rubicon, I'm afraid, at that point, my friend. Right? So as you can see, Peter's found himself. Now the funny thing is, a lot of the replies are people saying, well done, Peter, good for you, it takes a lot of bravery. Yes, well fucking done. Yeah, if I posted on Twitter that I don't think it's right to step on newborn babies' heads and crush them to death with your feet, slowly, under the pressure of a Samoan man wearing golf shoes, no, I think that's wrong. And you shouldn't respond with well fucking done. You'd be like, yeah, well done for getting with the programme, there's dents, right? There's dark matter, and then there's this motherfucker here, isn't there? Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Peter Sweden. This is the stuff Peter Sweden doesn't want you to know that is out there. And everything I'm about to tell you, because I know I'm going to get some people, if I didn't bring this up, who say, oh, you're doc dropping him. No, everything I'm about to tell you is publicly available information. Anyone can find this shit. This is not stuff that's been, this is not stuff that's been hacked out of him. This is not stuff that's been stolen or stuff that's been leaked. This is all publicly viewable shit about Peter Sweden. And it's stuff that he knows is out there. And Peter, if you see this video, please do not even think about trying to make it disappear. Because if it does, I will latch onto you. Ask anyone who's fucking followed me for a while. Anyone who tries to fucking shut me up, I bite my teeth into their arse and I don't let fucking go. So let's move on to the more important question as to who the hell is Peter Sweden. Well, Peter Sweden is actually, his real name is Peter Emanuelsson. And he is a 23-year-old photographer who was born in Norway. Right, that's an important point. He was born in fucking Norway. Now, it's well known now that he lives in Norway as present, but he's actually lived in several places. In fact, one of the places he has spent the least amount of time in his life is fucking Sweden. Right? He was born in Norway, but up until very recently, he was living in the UK, in Yorkshire, in North fucking Yorkshire, Peter Bastard Sweden, and he was registered as a British national. Right? Official UK Company House records show that he is Peter Emanuelsson, age 22. He ran a photo company, and Peter Sweden has said on Twitter, on tweets that are conveniently after all this information was revealed that suddenly disappeared and he deleted, that he was 22 years old and living in North Yorkshire as a photographer. Peter was actually born in Norway. He spent the first year and a half of his life in Norway before going to Sweden in 1996. He then emigrated in 1999 to the United States, where they left in 2002, right? And then in 2009, again according to Company House of Public Records, they then left Sweden, right? So where he stayed in the UK, and then he's now back in Norway. So despite claiming to be this big Swedish nationalist, and despite painting himself as Peter Sweden, right, he has actually spent at best around 5 to 7 years of his life in fucking Sweden, right? And he's 23, 24 years old now. Right, not only that, he's also lied to people when people found this out. He lied about why he had to fucking leave. Like, various reasons he gave include it being a refugee fleeing for political persecution, saying on Twitter that I felt that me and my family really had to leave Sweden because of the government and because having the wrong opinions basically in Sweden, i.e. right-wing opinions, right? Peter also repeatedly stated that because he was homeschooled as a child, that Sweden's tight regulation on homeschool forced his family to leave the country. This is kind of odd because he's 4 years old now, so I don't know why that would matter. But he even suggested that he had a fear of being kidnapped by the Swedish government because he was homeschooled, even though at the time he said this, he was 22 years old. Right. However, Swedish public records indicate that Peter Emanuelsson and his parents left Sweden in October of 2009, and this was over a year before the legislation tightening on regarding homeschooling came in and was passed. So that proves that is a pile of shit. However, an article in the Norwegian magazine Entrepreneur, again, all these are linked below, an Entrepreneur magazine reports that Peter's parents moved to the UK in 2004 in order to start a business long before homeschooling was restricted under Swedish law. Moreover, Peter Emanuelsson himself has stated at least once that he's lived in the UK since 2004. So when you add all that together and the fact that he was born in 1994 and they left in 2004 to go to the UK, this means that this works out that he has spent more than half his life living in the United Kingdom. However, a in-depth investigation into the family's business dealings reveals this world of unpaid taxes and of court cases, and boy, to quote Alex Jones, I've got the documents. Right, the only director and other person in significant control of Peter Emanuelsson's company is a guy called Emanuel Manuelsson, who is Peter's father. He was born in 1971 and he's listed as having the same correspondence address as Peter, again in Company House records. Emanuel Manuelsson, according to Company House, is an officer of 6 other companies apart from Peter's photo and consultancy firm. Right, 3 of these companies are all named Ksoft, and judging by the company website, and I've said before that white nationalists and nationalists in general are pretty terrible when it comes to making websites that look decent, but this guy is taking the fucking piss. Check out how fucking awful this website design is, right? And this is for a company that's selling fucking software, right? Now, there are texts on the website that explain that Ksoft is a family-run business run by Emanuel and his wife, and the company history does mention their son. Also, Peter Emanuelsson does appear as a salesman and writer of copy for the company on the website 7PC, which is officially registered as an affiliate of the Swedish branch of Ksoft, according to Swedish public registries. Ksoft, as it turns out, is a company that's been dogged by severe problems. In the 2000s, it has appeared in several media outlets. In 2000s, reports of harsh criticism of Ksoft. Then in 2009, a Norwegian financial website published an article with the headline, "Does Emanuel Emanuelsson make millions a year from junk mail?" Such negative publicity swirling around the company back in 2007 that its owner, Emanuel Emanuelsson, then known as Rune Emanuel Carlson, claiming that Ksoft was the target of a plot, right, decided to take 4 of its detractors to court in a lawsuit for alleged defamation after they had said Ksoft was a fraud company that used spam emails and fake references to market products. The District Court of Oslo, however, dismissed the invalidation of request and found the defendants not guilty of defamation, ruling that their statements constituted free speech, protected under the European Convention of Human Rights, damn that Human Rights Act, and ordering the Emanuels to pay the defendants' court expenses a sum of more than £7,600, which in Norwegian krona is about 18 billion. However, in June of last year, it was reported again in the Entrepreneur magazine that the Swedish tax agency, after assessing Kaysoft, had found that the company's principal, Mr. Emanuel Emanuelsson, owed nearly £4.5 million in unpaid taxes, although the agency revised its figure to £700,000. You can sit there and say, well, these are the sins of the father onto the son, but this is a part of me that makes me feel, you know what, I feel kind of sorry for Peter Sweden, because what the hell was this dumb little fuck going to grow up to be like, other than a bigger dumb fuck than he already bloody is? And it kind of makes me sad. But Peter, you know, you might sit there and think, well, you know, you want the attention. I get it. You've come onto the internet, the place where people like you, people who think they know everything but know absolutely diddly fucking shit, can have the world is your lobster when you come on here. Right, but you kind of answered your own question. You might say, well, who the fuck am I? You know, you've got 89,000 followers on Twitter. You've got 50,000 fucking YouTube followers. That's nothing, you know, and I've got fuck all compared to that. But here's the thing, Peter. I've got a Patreon down below. I consistently have about 150, 160 people who financially back me what I do, right? Whereas back in, you know, last year, you sent out this tweet in which you complained that you have all of these tens of thousands of followers, but only a few of them, only a couple of dozen of them are willing to pay for what you fucking do, right? And do you know why they're only willing to pay for what you do, Peter? A, it's because you're dodgy as fuck and you've proven that you won't stand by your principles. And B, it's because you're a fucking car crash, my friend. You are an embarrassment. People stick to you. People follow you on Twitter the same reason I fucking follow you. And you sent out this tweet, and at the bottom you can see there's a poll. Should I leave Twitter and go back to being a restaurant? This is him pulling that old, oh, I'm going to leave unless you people start supporting me. And look at those fucking results. Look at those fucking results. 76% told you to get the fuck off the internet and you couldn't be bloody bothered. Right? You're still fucking here. Right? And I send that to you every fucking week. I link you to that to remind you that tweet, that there, right, Peter, is all you need to know about why you only have a couple of dozen, why you only have 14 fucking people who are willing to pay for you. Because that's all you're fucking worth, my friend. Right? You ain't worth anything else. When Katie Hopkins won't have anything to do with you, you've gone too far. And you should have, instead of retracting all that shit, you should have doubled down and said, bollocks, I believe all of it. At least then you'd have had some consistency. People can say, well, at least I know where I stand with this guy. But they don't know where they stand with you. And that's why you're a fucking liability, my friend. And that's why you're a joke. And everyone, Peter, everyone is laughing at you. This is Brother Neuro, where there's no sense, there's no feeling, and occasionally, that's where you'll find me. See you later.